Yeah, today's Tuesday, and on Friday I'm supposed to have all the rest of the parts to put the new engine in this car. So what I'm going to do is pull the engine out so I can have the flywheel surfaced beforehand. And with this, there's very little room for the engine to move this way. With a manual transmission, I think that the transaxle and the engine are going to have to come out together. With an automatic, it would come out no problem. So I think I'm going to pull it all apart, and then I can pressure wash everything good too. And the original engine was an H22, which is 2.2 liters. The used Japanese engine I got is an H23, which is 2.3 liters. The only difference on this is the stroke. And also the oil pump is different. So I got this new oil pump from Rock Auto. Where the crankshaft position sensor mounts, that engine doesn't have it. So you have to replace the oil pump also when you do this. And I didn't want to use the old oil pump because it's got 228,000 miles on it and it has a thrown rod. Yeah, I just got more of the parts from Rock Auto. The lower radiator hose and the two air filter and the cabin air filter. The rest of the parts will be here tomorrow and Friday. Anytime I'm going to do a job like this and I'm not in a hurry on it, I'll order the parts from Rock Auto because I can save quite a bit of money by doing that. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is replace the cabin air filters. And all you have to do is take the glove box out. That's the first part. So you want to take the glove box out with that piece of metal still attached to it. So take the two 10mm screws out. And after that, you take this cover and pull it at the bottom and it comes off. And there's the two cabin air filters. Yeah, so then the air filters come out of this plastic piece. Just make sure you put them in when it says airflow the right direction. Yeah, these air filters actually are not very dirty. Normally when I do this, they're just completely full of dirt. Yeah, see on this car, to pull the engine, I don't even have to pull the hood off. The hood will stay up like that on its own, but I don't want the wind to blow it and have it come crashing down on me, so I tied it back there so it won't fall. Yeah, so I'm just starting to pull the engine and transaxle out of this. So next I actually have to pull the front end apart because you got to pull the axles out. And I also got to replace the front springs. Yeah, because it has aftermarket lowering springs in it and I don't want those. And I got the right ones here. Yeah, and when you want to take these tie rod ends off, all you need to do is put a floor jack under here, put a little bit of pressure on it, then hit this with a sledgehammer right here, and the vibration will break it loose. That way you're not sticking a pickle fork in here and damaging the rubber. Yeah, I got the engine out. What I like to do next is pressure wash the engine, the old engine and under the hood. And that way when I go to take this apart, it's clean. Yeah, this old engine had no oil in it. Yeah, I got the flywheel out, so now I can take that and have it surfaced tomorrow. And with the transaxle, I just stuck both of the axles back in there just to keep water out when I pressure wash this, because I don't have anything to plug that off with. Yeah, I just got a bunch more parts for the Prelude. The high pressure power steering hose, because it looked like it was leaking. Got the fuel filter, got the clutch, and a few more things. The rest of the stuff comes tomorrow. And one package I got one day early today because it came from FedEx. Yeah, FedEx and the post office will actually deliver it if it comes early. UPS will make you wait. Yeah, I'm also going to replace these heater hoses. They'll be here tomorrow because they're hard to get to when it's all together. And the fuel filter on these, you always want to replace this when it's apart. Because, and the Honda Accords are in the same place too around these ears. And the only way to get this out of here is to pull the power brake unit out because they're on there real tight, the lines. Yeah, I now have all of the parts for the Prelude. So I'm going to start putting this engine together. I just got the flywheel back that's surfaced. Yeah, the first thing I'm doing to this is replacing the rear main seal. It probably wouldn't need to be replaced at 50-something thousand miles, but I hate to have oil leaks after something's together. So it's pretty easy to do this. Hey, I got the seal in the cover. And I always like to put grease on the seal, so when I put it back on, I don't damage it, and when it first starts and doesn't have oil on it, it won't hurt it. And this, it came with gaskets that go in here, but originally it just had gasket sealer, and this is the type I like to use. So I'm not going to put those gaskets in there, I'm just going to put gasket sealer on it. Yeah, so next I'm going to put the oil pump on, and the timing belt and water pump. I can't put the flywheel or clutch on yet because I have to actually pick it up with the engine hoist first and switch the oil pans, and there's this other piece that goes on there because I won't be able to get to the oil pan bolts if I do that now. Yeah, the odd thing about this engine from Japan is it had no power steering. It takes a different harmonic balancer with power steering for another belt goes up to the power steering pump. Okay, so before you take this apart, you should always line everything up. As you can see, those two marks, they face straight up. And it has these two marks, and they face together, I mean, all the way across here. And then this mark down here lines up with that mark behind there. Then for the balance shafts, you can see that mark lines up, and there's one back here that lines up. You can't hardly see that. Then when you go to put it back together, there's no way you're going to line this up wrong because you already know how everything goes. If you just pull everything off, then you're going to have to look at online or in a book and see how the timing marks are before you put it back together. Yeah, and here's the difference in these oil pumps. You see how it's got these pieces here? That's where the crankshaft position sensor mounts to. The original one doesn't have those. Okay, and to get the oil pump off, you have to take the oil pan off. I tipped this engine up because I still want to use the engine hoist to pick the other engine up because I have to switch the oil pans around. And this balance shaft, you want to stick a number 2 Phillips screwdriver through here to hold it where it's lined up right. And I'll show you how that times the thing right too. Yeah, I got the oil pump on there, and just gasket sealer goes around where it mounts at. And I put this in just to hold it tight for now, and I'll take this back off when I have to put the timing belt on. So now we're ready to put this balance shaft together. Because this one runs in reverse is why there's 2 gears. And the screwdriver's still in here. Okay, so now you put this back on here, and you're just going to line that up with that big piece sticking out of there, if you can see this. And then, yeah, when you pull the old oil pump off, you want to make sure that this piece comes out of the block because a new one comes with it already in there. Yeah, the balance shaft belt in this old engine was broken. That's the second one of these in just like the last few days that I've done that has been broken. It also has no seal in here around this balance shaft that goes in the oil pump. For some reason it's missing. You also got to take these 2 pieces off the old engine and switch them, or the crankshaft position sensor won't work. Yeah, and here's how the crankshaft position sensors go in there. And I'm also going to replace the camshaft seals. I have them. I might as well do that. Sometimes they leak. Yeah, I also decided to replace this because it's real hard to turn. And this other one's real loose on the old engine. Yeah, it's just not worth taking a chance on it. And on these tensioners, all you have to do is take this bolt out of the back. There's a little tiny screw on the inside, and you turn it around in circles, and it makes this go back in. Yeah, and how I got that tensioner in there is I compressed it, and then I bent this little piece of metal and stuck over this to hold it compressed, then put the tensioner in there, and then pulled it out. And then you want to turn the engine over 2 times and make sure everything still lines up. So now we're ready to put the balance shaft belt on here. Yeah, so now I got everything on there and everything lines up right. Yeah, on the balance shaft you line that little slot up. I don't know if you can see that on this. There's also a mark over here that you can line up with this line. Yeah, the threads for the oil plug were almost completely stripped out, and it was 14150, and only helicoil kit I had was 14125. It's the same size as spark plug threads, so I just bought a different oil drain plug and then put a helicoil in it. Yeah, and on these oil pans, they don't take a gasket. They just, all you put is gasket sealer on there. Toyotas are also like that. Yeah, and also when you put the oil pan on, you have to take the windage tray off the original engine and put it back on. The aluminum oil pan won't go on there with that one. Yeah, I got the flywheel on, and that gets torqued to 76 foot-pounds. But this piece below the flywheel that attaches to the transaxle, it's a good idea to leave that loose until you get it bolted to the transaxle, then tighten the bolts down so it can line up right. Yeah, you also have to change the thermostat housings. Because the original one, this piece comes out in a 90, and on this one it's straight. And I also got a new thermostat I'm going to put in here. And I forgot to show that I replaced the O-ring on the distributor where it mounts at. You always want to do that too, or they leak a lot of times. Yeah, I took all the studs out for the intake manifold and went over this with a surface prep tool to get the gasket off. Gaskets on these are very hard to get off on the intake. Yeah, with these intake manifolds, there's some ports or holes that go through for the EGR valve, and they get plugged up. You're supposed to knock these plugs out, but I didn't want to do that because I don't have any more to put back in it. And it was plugged up. 3 of the 4 holes were plugged up, but I was able to take a wire and stick it in there and unplug it, and then I sprayed it a whole bunch of carburetor cleaner through it to clean this. If it's plugged up, and you put this back together, you're going to have the check engine light on for the EGR valve, so you don't want to do that. Yeah, it's all ready to go back in now. Got the transaxle back on it. So about the only thing I need to do before I do this is put the heater hoses on it, because they're hard to get to when the engine's in there. Yeah, and these 2 studs that are right by the oil filter that go in here, you need to take these out. They support the exhaust pipe. And the best way to do that is just to jam 2 nuts together, and then you can turn that right out of there. That way you don't damage the threads. Yeah, I can't put the engine back in it right now because I don't have the one heater hose. I went and ordered it from Honda because nobody seems to have that other one. The other 2 I replaced them with the aftermarket ones. And I also ordered this one hose that goes to the throttle body. It actually goes to the idle air control valve, because coolant goes through it, and that's the only hose on the engine I haven't replaced because I didn't have it. Yeah, I put the stock springs back on the struts. That'll be in a different video. And I still don't have my heater hoses. Honda, for some reason, tried to deliver them because I have a wholesale account, but I don't have a charge account. Yeah, I can't understand why these companies can't ever hire decent people. Yeah, I just started taking this old engine apart so I can throw it in the garbage little by little while I'm waiting for those heater hoses. But look at that connecting rod. Yeah, I finally got the right hoses. So here's the heater hose from Honda, and here's the one from Gates. You can obviously see it's the Honda one's much longer. I also got the hoses for the the engine oil cooler. These hoses are very hard to replace when the engine's in the car, so you should replace them. They go right where the oil filter is. And here's this one that goes up on the throttle body that I didn't have. Okay, so now the engine is definitely ready to go back in it. And the reason I'm picking it up like this, instead of from where you're supposed to pick it up at, is I want it to hang to where the transmission's way down at an angle to go under the AC line. Yeah, and here's that AC line I was talking about. The engine's got to go underneath this. I didn't want to have to take that off. Yeah, so now it's ready to go back in. Yeah, I got the engine bolted back in here. Now I just got to finish hooking up the rest of the stuff and put the front end back together. Yeah, I got one side of the front end back together. And this other side, I put the strut in and the axle, and now I can put the oil in the transmission. it's easier to get to it before everything's back together. That plug's kind of hard to get to. And I got the correct oil from Honda. And the fill plug is right at, I don't know if you can see that or not. Yes, I already loosened it because usually they're in there real tight. Yeah, so now I got it all back together. I'm ready to start it. And on Hondas, they usually have this bleed screw here. You open that up, and that gets the air out of the coolant, and you just fill it up until it comes out of that, and then close it. Yeah, one thing you should do when you replace the fuel pump and the fuel filter is turn the key on and off a couple times. That'll pump gas up to the engine. And it starts right up. Yeah, one bottle of power steering fluid wasn't enough. And Hondas take a special power steering fluid. I have to go buy more tomorrow. So now I guess I'm ready to charge the AC. Yeah, so I'm just evacuating it now, and then I'm going to charge the AC. The engine on this car holds a lot of oil for a 4-cylinder, 6 quarts. Most 4-cylinders seem to hold about 4.5. Yeah, I got the AC charged. Yeah, so next I have to drive it and have all the monitors run so I can go have the emissions test done.